Jupiter or Thor is perfect. We need Atlas for our long-distance stuff. The Titan will be even better. They shouldn't have canceled Mammo. Wait till you see our submarines with Polaris.
Attention, all personnel. This is CVTS. Space Vehicle Pre-Count operations will start on my mark in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, smiling strange. You're looking happily deranged. Can you say this to me? Or have you picked your target yet? Hey, Sandy. Hey, Sandy. Does your dog bite? Hey, Sandy. 5 feet away. End of speech, so that's the end of your day. We was only funny, but guiltily I thought it had it coming. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Sandy. Does your dog bite? Hey, Sandy. Hey, Sandy, does your dog bite? Hey, Sandy. Hey, Sandy, does your dog bite? Hey, Sandy. Look at he's right over there. Yeah, boy. Hey, little boy. Hey, little boy. Oh, it's coming right up behind me now. It's coming out of behind me now. It's coming out of behind me now. It's coming out of behind me now. And it's only 4 feet away now. It's only 4 feet away. It's only 4 feet away.
Polaris, everybody! Oh my God. I can't believe this is actually happening. Wow. Pete and Pete Reunion 2012, right? Pete Fest West. The energy in this room feels so damn good. This is incredible. I can't believe you actually know my name. We'll get to that later. If you don't know me, I'm Hadrian. I'm the executive director of the Cine Family. You guys are the coolest audience in the world. I have to be like the international adult conspiracy here and get a little serious for a minute and do the business part. Boo. But, look, we did this show a year ago at Cine Family at the Silent Movie Theater for just 180 people, and clearly that was not enough. I remember we tweeted it, and we only have like 6,000 followers, and it sold out in like 4 hours. And everyone was like, man, you didn't do it big enough. So here we are at the Orpheum. I got to thank those guys. It's so amazing that all you guys were able to get in tonight. You know, and I had to think a little bit about why people responded to the show so strongly, what made it so special. You know, I think it's because we look back in our childhood anyways with rose-colored lenses. You know, we always have a little bit of nostalgia. Things seem bigger and more mythic. And, you know, everybody thinks they have the best childhood in the world, or the most interesting, or the most extreme. But I have to say, because this isn't my childhood, after watching Pete and Pete and learning it with you guys, I think through some weird gift of the gods or superior alien life force, or I don't know what, you guys really did grow up with the best children's show ever. This is clearly the greatest piece of entertainment made for adolescents in the universe, The Adventures of Pete and Pete. And, I mean, I grew up with different strokes, guys. It's really not the same. Gary Coleman's pretty fun. All in the Family, sure. That was actually a little older than me. I know I look 50, but no. Making a show for kids is as much about the nostalgia we have for our childhoods as it is about our childhoods. And, you know, told through the exaggerated and poetic filter of Pete and Pete, we've created something extra special for us because it's kind of like a nostalgia. We now have a nostalgia for a show about nostalgia. It's like it's folded upon itself like a samurai sword, endlessly becoming more powerful until some sort of superconductor of nostalgia, and we're all going to end up in a time machine in this theater tonight. Let me just get to the thank yous. I'm partly helping while they redo the set. Because there are a lot of people. If you don't know who we are, the Cine Family is a nonprofit, and we do all kinds of events, and it's with partners. So this, for example, was the closing night of Everything is Festival, which is something, 10 days. Oh, some fans out there. So I have to give a big thank you to Dimitri Samakis and Suki Rosetta, the directors of the festival. And in fact, Suki, could you come out here for a second? Dimitri's so talented. He didn't just direct the festival. He doesn't just do Everything is Terrible. He made this incredible post-silk screen with all the characters, which is sold out, except there's 25 left that the cast and crew signed, which is going to be out there afterwards. Another big thank you, of course, because one of the ideas of this is that Everything is Festival was going to sort of end the summer and be like a cruise up to the other great end of summer event, FYF Fest. And this is like our baton pass. They've been amazing supporters of the Cine Family. They've been amazing supporters in the event. I can vouch personally that nobody loves Pete and Pete more than Sean Carlson and Phil Holting, who put this together with us. They went, anytime we were like, let's go a little further with it, they were totally on board. And I guess, well, there's one last thank you I've got to do, and I think I have to read it in a very specific way because it's sort of a sponsor type thing. You know, got all the volunteers, blah, blah, blah. You guys, you care about that? Who did? I care. They did. Everyone worked really hard to make this happen. You have no idea. I mean, look, we've got Orange Lazarus out there, and I'm not talking about the virgin kind, by the way. But there's one organization that stands above them all, a sponsor who has been integral to the lifeblood of Pete and Pete since its very inception. A company as ubiquitous and useful as carbon is to human life itself. They create everything from snow cone packaging to medical supplies to nuclear weapons. Please welcome a man who hasn't spoken publicly in 15 years, the founder and CEO of Krebstar, Sandy Krebman.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the program. Let's hear it for the Nickelodeon show that we're all seeing. Oh, it burns. We're here tonight to see. Whoa. To see what to see what Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi have done, and what we all did in the mid-90s. That was an incredible time, wasn't it? It was all you were very small children, and us at Krebstar were making fine products. We were a real company before we got hooked up with McRobb Viscardi juggernaut over at Nickelodeon. I gotta get this one up. It's running too low for me. Oh, shit. Well, now, when we started Krebstar, it was a fledgling company. We got hooked up with the Nickelodeon people and it became a Fortune 500 pretty quick, and I owe all that to Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi. Let's hear it for him. Wonderful. A fella couldn't ask for better friends. It was in season 3. This to show you what sort of great friends these fellas are. In season 3, they said, come up with the thing that takes the tree stump out of the ground, the Krebs 2000 tree stump McRooter or whatever the hell it was. And I said I could do it. I would do it. And they said, well, do it. And I went to the shop and I came up with an incredible machine the size of a Pontiac. And it was huge and it was dangerous. And I brought it to the set and I said, here you go. And they said, what's wrong with you? And I said, just use it. It's dangerous as hell. They said, we work with children, and they were pushing the children around and slapping them like they did during the show. If they had to make them cry, they'd poke them or hit them or something. It was all in good fun back in the mid-90s. No one cared. So I said, I can't let this thing go around children. They said, do it or you're gone. And that's their way of joking around again. You couldn't ask for better friends. And I said, all right, well, let me get in there. And I started it up, and there was a flash and then an explosion, and it took my right leg right here right by the groin. It just broke it clean like a piece of celery, just snapped it off. And you couldn't ask for better friends who'd wrap you up in a big painter's tarp and take you, and they taped up both ends. And they got me out of there fast to stop the bleeding. They tossed me in the East River. And then the leeches come in and they stopped all the blood. And those are the friends you have. The mid-90s. That's some friendship right there. I remember the time too, one quick short one before we play there's a montage of all the stuff that we did, all the products on there. You're gonna see them. There was fantastic. There was one time in the mid-90s, not like now where people, they couple up and they stay together, am I right? Back in the 90s, you could sleep with anybody you wanted. No one cared. I myself was married at the time, and I thought my wife might have been sleeping around. I talked to my old buddies. Will and Chris couldn't ask for better buddies than these guys. I said, I think my wife was sleeping around. They said, oh, she is. Slept with both of us. You couldn't ask for better guys rooting out my trollop of a wife than that, and I got rid of her. He rooted her out. That's some good buddies right there. I tell you, sometimes, oh God, it burns. It's like a burn. It's like a tail that starts in my colon. It's a tale of pain, and that was the Krebstar motto, though. If you don't feel it, the pain in your colon, it's not a good product for kids' TV. It wasn't our motto. Can you play the clip of the Krebstar products? Do we have that? There's a little commercial we come up with. There it is. That's the Krebstar. That's the one we made that had the buttons. There's that fella. Hey, lather foam. Hey, old man. I'll have some coffee. Oh, they're getting drunk again. I don't remember that book. There you go. That's one that made noises. Look at it go. Tracking and targeting. That was our middle name. And he's drunk again, the chubby one. We like to write letters back then, from ant farm to ant farm. I'm not quite sure of that game. Oh, that's where my sperm count dropped to nothing after we invented this. There you go. We got sued plenty for this one. Killed a boy in Wisconsin. Them are magic shoes, and those were for problems. Crep Track, maybe you've seen it. That's a Krebstar family of products. Goddamn. Have a lovely evening and enjoy the show. Here's to Will and Chris.
All right. right, everybody. I think you guys want to start giving a big round of applause because we're going to start with Sid Straw, Miss Fingerwood. Come on out. Judy Graff and Hardy Rawls. Mom and Dad. Damian Young, Driver Stu. Rick Gomez is Endless Mike. Not to be undercredited, Catherine Diekman, director, one of the original directors of many episodes. Give her a round of applause. Allison Finelli, Ellen. Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi, the creators of Pete and Pete. Actually, they're going to sit over here. And who's left? Oh, right. Big and Little Pete, Michael Morona, and Danny Tamborelli. And I guess we have an empty seat for Elijah over here. I don't know. If you guys all want to scoot over one, get a little closer, that's okay. Oh, right. No, we're good. There's one more coming.
Stay over there, Hardy.
Is he ready? Oh, my God. Oh, there he is, Toby Huss. Hardy.
Hi, guys.
The strongest man in the world.
Oh, I'm not going to do it. Oh.
Come on, do it.
Maybe I'll spring it on you later.
Like the Beatles
Toby,
in here.
do it, Toby.
I don't know, does the chest still go out like it used to? Well, let's find out, shall we? I've untucked myself. That's something that never happened when you wore children's underwear. It stays tucked in.
Well, let's just start by saying this is in and of itself amazing. And you guys, you've been doing this for about a year since the Cinefamily event. You guys have done this in New York, and you guys started to see each other again after so many years away from it. What is all this like to you? And anybody can respond. Like, what's it feel like to revisit the show and feel this response and find out what people feel about it?
It's a bit of a shock.
It's kind of, I thought it was kind of wonderful. Thank you all for coming out. This is really silly.
Thank you, everybody.
We never thought anything like this was going to happen. It was strange when we started hearing reports a few years ago that people really liked the show, and they started talking to each other about it. We didn't, you do a little show and it goes away, and everybody goes their separate way, and then you get little hints of things happening later. It's a very strange little thing, but it's very sweet, and we're all hopelessly flattered by it. It's really great.
Yeah,
it really is.
It was last, I think, August when you contacted us and said that the Cinefamily wanted to host a Pete reunion, and I guess we were a little hesitant because we didn't really know what that meant, and we said yes, and I think you said, has anybody ever asked you guys to do this before? And we said, nope. So we have no idea what it was going to be, and I don't know if you told the story, but 200 tickets sold out in a matter of hours. Then we did a couple shows at the Bowery Ballroom in New York, and those sold out in 5 minutes each show. And I think obviously before then we realized that the show was something special, and we had a great fan base. But I mean, this is just the icing on the cake. It's really incredible, and I think we're amazed to be up here, and hopefully you guys are amazed to be here and happy to be here. We never thought that the show would last all that long and it would have such a following, and we owe it all to you guys. You guys are the reason why we're here, so thank you.
You jerks.
Actually, I was going to say, I was thinking about, one of the, we have Polaris here tonight. I hope you guys are ready for more Polaris later. And, there's the song Summer Baby, I'm sure you guys know, where we'll be hearing that later tonight, where the chorus is, as everyone knows, was I was around and nobody knows. And I think that's the way we felt about the show over all the years since we stopped making it. We got canceled after 3 seasons, and all these different misadventures occurred. Everyone knows that the 3rd season of the DVD has mysteriously been derailed, and yeah, sign that guy up for our hate campaign. But it definitely felt like, Little Pete's journey in Hard Days Pete. He heard a song and then it disappeared, and he spent the whole episode trying to find it, and then he made it himself. And it kind of felt like that's what sort of has happened. We were around, nobody knew, but we see all you fine folks here, and it seems like a lot of people knew, and you're all here tonight, and it makes us feel great. So thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I just saw Daniel and Michael, you both had something to say in response to that question. I wanted to just follow up. I saw you both kind of...
We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, they said it. They both said it before we could. But it's really amazing.
His voice got lower, didn't it?
My voice got lower. I got fatter.
Yeah.
I know. Well,
Not
the
at
fat
all.
joke's the good one.
You were always fat.
Oh. No, but I get people that come up to me and they always say things like, the show really meant a lot to me and changed me, and it made me more of, who I am today. And it happened to me too. I was growing up as well, so it was like the feeling's mutual, So it's a pretty cool thing because we're all the same.
Although I was with Danny, I think it was last November after the show, and we were in Venice and having a couple beers on a Sunday, watching a ball game, and somebody came in the bar and ran right over to him, and he said, "Little Pete!" And Danny just politely nodded his head and said, "Yep," and the guy walked away. And I said, does that happen to you often? And he's like, "Every fucking day."
Has
Swear
this
jar.
experience changed how you feel about it now? Was it maybe like a pain earlier when you were 20, but now you're like...
It was never a pain.
It was never. With Pete and Pete fans, it was never. Honestly, I meant that. It really is. You feel like when those people come up to you and say these things, you understand. Me specifically, I understand. I get it, and it changed me too. And we are the same. I would be your friend. I feel that way. I've never had an instance where someone has recognized me from Pete and Pete, and it's been, broed out or something. Yo, dude, Pete and Pete. Unless there's a couple of you in here tonight, and then I'm really sorry.
I heard Allison, your husband didn't even know you were on the show until the last reunion. Could you explain how that's even possible? We still haven't told him? This is live streaming,
I'm sorry, he never saw the show, so even after a friend blurted out, he was like, "That's cool." So I showed him, I pulled the DVD, that I bought by myself at Target, and hoping someone would recognize me. It's me, it really is, yeah. So he didn't even see it until we were engaged, so yeah.
That's true. for you. And then he got a bonus. Well, let's, unless anybody else has something to say about the reunion in general, let's start maybe going back to the beginnings of the show, and we'll just kind of move forward through the casting and how everybody experienced it. You know, one of the things we talked about last time that really struck me is you guys talked about a certain philosophy you had for the show that I think, you know, kind of guiding rules of how to create a good piece.
Yeah, we had a little checklist that we felt if we could hit all these 4 ingredients, then we would have something special. And we have, since we think with Pete and Pete, we managed to really find our way with this philosophy. And we've had hits and misses since Pete and Pete where we couldn't hit all 4, but just so everyone can write this down and apply it to their own lives. We are always looking to tell stories that were funny, sad, strange, and beautiful. And sometimes we work on things now that are funny, sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're rarely strange, and hardly, well, once in a while they're beautiful. But with Pete and Pete, we managed to find a way to do all those things all at once, hopefully almost all the time. And that, I think, is Pete and Pete in a nutshell. I would like to think your favorite episodes, if you think about it, you're like, yeah, they did all those things, and we feel really proud of that.
Well, the thing that strikes me so much about that list is, you know, funny, sure, a lot of kids' shows try and be that, and maybe occasionally sad, but it's the strange and the beautiful for television that you just don't see as much. And why was it so important that it have that element in particular of absurdity and strangeness?
I think after Artie, the strongest man in the world, entered our universe, I think strange and beautiful just came together naturally.
That's bound to happen.
It's just to briefly mention, you know, how the show started with these shorter pieces and developed into a series eventually. And Artie didn't come along until you know, somewhere into the 3rd special. And so, in my mind, just to detour for a second about our favorite man in kids' underpants and kids' pajamas rather, Huss/Artie, I think took the show to bizarro heights, but never. I don't know. I don't think the show would have been the show without Artie. So just a brief tip of the cap to Artie.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, we were also always looking for ways to make the show strange and sad and beautiful, and I think one of the folks up here really epitomized that, and that is Damian Young, driver Stu Benedict.
Yeah, yeah.
As we all know, driver Stu was a very sad fellow. He was very strange.
And he was always beautiful.
He was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, he's pretty.
But yeah, there was a 5th one for driver Stu, and that was insane. That's why we loved him.
Now, the secondary characters are so important to the show, because one of the things I think we all love is that it has that world-building quality. Like, there's a kind of universe to it. But Stu is a character that was meant to be a bit player and then became this recurring one. Like, maybe you could speak, Damien, you could speak a little bit to, A, what it's like to come out of a Hal Hartley world and enter a Pete and Pete world. Because I know that's your background. He's an independent filmmaker from the 90s who's not nearly as popular as Pete and Pete, apparently. Though I do like him a lot.
Nice reference.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But you were doing like 90s indie film, and you got on this amazing kid set. What was that like?
Well, I guess Chris and Will had seen me in a Hal Hartley movie, and then they asked me to come in, and so I forget the first episode. Oh, I think the first episode I did was with Ellen Cleghorn. Is that right? Yeah. And there was very little, supervision. I mean, I think I got to the set the first day, and I think it was raining, and I kind of remembered Will, and I saw him, and he was like under a tent, and he had a yellow pad out, and he had a pen, and I sort of wanted to talk to him about, the episode, and he was all happy to see me, but then he had to write the next episode. So, I don't know. It was just like a playground. And I'd been doing a bunch of, theater in Tribeca in a warehouse in the middle of the night, with a bar. So, I got to do all my crazy, insane stuff on TV, and no one seemed to tell me to stop. So I don't know. It was a great.
Damien, what do your kids think of Driver Stu? Have they seen?
My kids?
Yeah.
Well, I showed them the show when they were little. I mean, they're kind of big now, but you know, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm sort of like as a father, I'm sort of like him in a lot of ways, and so my kids are always, you know, telling me to calm down and shut up and get a grip and nothing's so terrible and why are you crying and, you know. So, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. So no, they didn't see much different experience than they have in real life. I don't know, you know.
Have you ever told your children that they are killing your soul?
That's always my subtext with them. So.
It sounds like both you and Toby were kind of younger, sort of adult actors, and surrounded by all these kids. I know, like, you were doing almost like sort of semi-blue performance art. And
Yes, I acted in adult films. No, it was films. No, I was doing performance art on the Lower East Side, and sometimes with Damien and those guys.
Yeah, we worked together before the show.
Yeah. And then I was doing the character, and he was sort of a sad, broken person, and typecast as a sad, broken man, wearing underwear, ranting, and I did it where he was a guy in an asylum, and I did it with another actor who had a big push broom, and sometimes he beat me with it and just pushed me away with it because I was a violent weirdo. But then I'd play the piano in the end to be very sad and maudlin, which fit the show perfectly. And then, but Will got a hold of me. I was tending bar at the Knitting Factory, and he came up and he said, "You want to do a show?" I said, "Yeah." And then I thought Nickelodeon was going to own my character, and I was worried. And then a friend of mine said, "Well, just kill him. What do you care?" I went, "Yeah, why not?" And it turns out it was the best place I could have ever used Artie, the Strongest Man in the World, was on that show.
Yeah, the story's been told once or twice before, but it's worth repeating about what it was like to have Toby on the set. You know, we had moms on the set, we had little kids, and Chris and I were very solicitous about, you know, keeping we're making a Nickelodeon show, and as weird and wonderful as Pete and Pete is, you know, it's still a family show, and we have kids, and there's chaperones, and along comes Toby. Chain smoking, scratching his crotch.
Wasn't that bad, was it?
Smelling like, I don't know, cheap booze and cigars.
Yeah, cheap booze. That smelled a lot like cheap booze back then. And cigarettes. That say
Smell
hi to
better
the children.
now.
Hello, boys.
And I knew we had found a keeper. In my mind, we had found a keeper the day that, I think it was one of the first times we had shot with Toby. He's wearing the very tight children's pajamas. And Sue Abel, our wardrobe person, wanted to speak to me just over to the side where none of the moms could hear. And she seemed like she had something urgent to say. And she said to me, "I don't want to do this. You need to do this. But that man needs to wear at least 3 or 4 more pair of underwear. Or we may all get arrested." And I turned and I looked, and the outline was distinct. I'll say that's all I'm going to say. And we moved on from there.
And one additional anecdote that I'll throw out was we were at lunch one day, and we're all hanging out eating lunch, and I finished my lunch, I put my tray down, I walk around the corner, and I hear a bunch of crew guys laughing, and I round the corner, and there's Toby, and he's got his wingtips on and his pajama bottoms, and he's shirtless, and he has the Mr. Tasty head on. And he's pretending that his penis is stuck in the gas tank of a car.
Yeah.
And right about then, Danny and the kids who played Nona and Monica and Wayne, they start rounding the corner. I'm like, "Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do?" And I'm like, "Nah, hell with that. They've seen worse by this point."
Yeah.
I have to ask at this point, what did you kids think of Toby?
He smells funny.
He smelled funny.
This is really true. Allison?
I just remember the very first, it was a short though, I think. Right. Yeah. the very first shot we did with Toby, we were walking down the sidewalk. He jumped down from the tree, and it took about 50 takes to get us to stop laughing. Because, I mean, that was my first memory of Toby, was trying to do that shot and just being like, all right, do it again, do it again. So I'm pretty sure I look half retarded in that shot because I was, the whole time. So, yeah,
You're
very
not the-
funny.
What happened to him?
Artie should be one of the Avengers.
All
Artie
right.
should be one of the Avengers.
Yes,
We'll
crisp.
keep the
It would
questions
make
on
the
stage.
Avengers crisp.
We have enough people on this panel right now, actually. One of the things that's interesting about the Artie, I just want to get one last thing in about this before we move on, is you're one of the only characters that was sort of created outside of Will and Chris that they found.
Yeah.
And I heard that in the script you ended up writing a lot of your own dialogue. It would just be like a...
I would
what
say
you guys
improving is more like it than writing. I mean, you put Toby in a situation and you just didn't really know what he would do, which was
Well,
great.
that was the fun of it, I think.
Of course.
So
you
I
hang
know
out with
the real
children.
challenge was like Allison was just saying was us all not laughing hysterically and ruining every take, and having to do it over because he was always doing something unpredictable and saying something completely crazy.
So I want to read a couple key Artie lines and just hear what you have to say about them.
Oh, sure. I have no idea what
We'll
I
start
said.
easy. Strongest man in the world.
Sure.
Where does that come from?
That came from, I was in Iowa City, and I was going out with a girl named Mary Jo Berry. And I'd got these red, long underwear for Christmas. And we were hanging out in the bedroom, and I pulled them up. And they always have giant crotches. You don't buy long underwear that often in Los Angeles. But they're big, they're large crotches, and you can pull them up to your chest. You really can. So I was pulling them up to my chest, and I was sort of flexing and going to the, trying to goof off for a lady, of course. And I started doing that, and then I guess that just came out of sort of flexing and going, well, I'm the strongest man in the world. And it came out of showing off for a girl. Yeah.
I feel like that bad guy in Actors Studio. Pipe.
Pipe. Yeah, well, the origin of pipe is a strange one. There was a friend of ours, this fellow, Jamie Bernard, who was an artist, and he lived in Boston, and he drove a van, and he smoked a lot of weed. And the van had some windows on the side of it. And one day they get stopped by a cop. All right, everybody out of the van. They get everybody out of the van, and they're looking there, and the cop goes, what do you got in the van? And he looks in the van, and Jamie and his buddies are high, and they're watching through the window of the van, and the cop finds a pot pipe. He's inside the van, and he raises his head up so they can see him in the window, and he's looking at the pipe, and he goes, fucking pipe. And Jamie told me that story. I went, yeah, pipe. Pipe. And I started saying pipe as a word that, I don't know, it could mean anything.
You know what this reminds me of? This story reminds me of, we did a DVD audio track with you for one of the DVDs.
Yeah.
And so we go in the studio, and we're making our commentary while they play the episode, and Toby's being Toby, and spinning tales, and then cut to like a year later, the DVD comes out, and we play it at home, and it's just like Toby. They just edited you out so much. It would just be like Toby'd be like, "Yeah, I remember that day," and then like 20 minutes would go by, and he'd be like, yeah, the food was good that day. Like everything else that was funny, gone. Thank God for tonight, right? No editing tonight.
Finally, truth can be told.
I just love that in that story, pipe means exactly what we all thought it meant. Let's run the Artie reel. I think we made a little comp. We have these little videos throughout. I think it's a good time for it. We've been talking about it.
Okay.
We have a little best of Artie. I think it's number 6.
Every morning when we...
Number 5.
Every morning when we go out to face the 1,440 minutes that make up our day, it's nice to know that Artie, the strongest man in the world, is out there, somewhere, looking after us.
Nickelodeon presents The Adventures of Pete and Pete, starring Pete, Pete's brother Pete, and me, Ellen. Today's adventure...
Archie, the strongest man in the world.
Artie's a suburban superhero with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. No one knows the full extent of his mutant arsenal, but if you ask me, his most amazing power of all is this one. His friendship with my brother Pete.
Delightful. A delicious blend of tarragon, ginger, and some sort of seafood. Shellfish.
Artie!
Appearing in a timely fashion, seemingly from nowhere. Be gone with you, Popey, before I fold you into some type of brochure.
Go recycle yourself, paper cut.
Ooh, idea. Now, son, as I was saying, you take the scraper. Idea. Disrupt their families? Gutter lover! Blue legless dog ball! Take this! He wants you to go. Oh, Don. Oh, Don. Hold me. Hold me, Don. Oh, Don, it hurts. Everything you need to learn is in here. Out there is some boy who needs me. He's small. He's puny, like you were.
But Artie, you're my best friend.
I always will be, my little Viking.
But will I ever see you again?
Worry not, boy. Worry not. For I am Artie, the strongest man. For the world.
As a side note, before I move on to the next question, how aware were you guys that there was another audience other than children watching this? Like, let's just say the college audience.
You know, it was back in those days. We really had no concept. You know, we knew the ratings, which were not great. They're okay, but they weren't enough to keep the show in the air. And people at Nickelodeon, for the most part, they just wouldn't look us in the eye. I remember that. That was an indication that there was trouble afoot. But you know, we would hear random things that would keep our hopes up. Someone would say, "Oh, other than like after Sesame Street, your show's the favorite show for stoners." So that's good. That's a start. So we would get these vague sort of trickles of information that just made it feel like there was a big crowd of people who didn't have Nielsen boxes on their television. I think that was the sad truth of it. But yeah, you know, we would just get little like random bulletins of fanatical interest in different parts of different subcultures. But it never seemed to add up to any kind of like great wave of popularity.
Well, you certainly were making episodes with references to 10-year-olds like tripping balls on soda. But,
well, I think I think the reason everyone still watches this show, actually, they can only watch it on YouTube now, unfortunately, but or fortunately, I think we just made a show that made us happy, and you know, it seemed to be a good formula, and you know, it's become, and also we were very conscious of making it timeless. We tried not to be, we tried to make it, you know, a show that would just be evergreen, and it seems like it worked.
Well, since we just can't. As the Artie Reel demonstrated, and we kind of flirted around there, one of the things that has made that universe so broad, as we already said, was some of the secondary characters. So I want to talk with some of you guys about how you created those characters or got involved with the show. So, for example, Rick, Endless Mike, Rick Gomez.
Hey, Rick Gomez.
I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
You're kind of quiet down there.
I was just a little bit older than the guys. I mean, I was 20 years old. Shit, man. I didn't know what the fuck. But I did show my kids who are 9 and 7, and the universe gave me a redheaded boy. So he watches Halloweeny, and I'm all carrot head this, and you know. And he goes, hey, that's cool. And then we watch Pinned, which is not on DVD, but on YouTube, and we watched it on YouTube. And he goes, and I did the whole thing, and he goes, that's bullying. and I go, that's the joke, I'm the bully.
It
And he
gets
goes,
better.
Totally.
It gets better.
It's worse than sad. He's like, it's illegal. If you did that in my school right now, you'd be kicked out. I'm like, well, it was the mid-90s, so you could bully people. And it was funny. People laughed at it. And he's like...
Bullying was pretty funny, am I wrong?
Yeah, come on. And he's just looking at me like I'm a fucking alien. And he goes, Dad, it's just horrible. It's horrible. And I'm like, but is it funny? And he just left.
Rick, I was thinking, you know, when this is the first time Rick has been at any of the reunions. So
and it's awesome.
And I do have a question for you, and I'll get to it in a second. But as I was thinking about your character, and you know, the bully character is such a cliche, and how you found a way to make it someone that really resonates, even though you know, your kids don't seem to like it much. But I was thinking, what makes Endless Mike so special? Why is he so different from other bullies? And then I was actually thinking of Penn, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We had him murder people in the show.
Yeah.
So that's a big, you don't usually see bullies murdering people.
Yeah.
Or extracting their own organs to make weight. But anyway, what I was going to ask you was, how did you, were you conscious of, I mean, you were only 20, just a tadpole of a man, but what did you bring to that character? I always wanted to know how you try to make it more than what people expect from a bully.
I don't know, man. That's a great, I don't fucking know. You guys would laugh, people would laugh at it, and I would go, okay, that's good. I really honestly had no fucking idea what I was doing. And I look back on it and I go, wow, look at him giving it a try. And you'll watch tonight. I'm sure there'll be something, and I go, oh, okay, great.
Well, I'll say,
but I'm super proud of it, because it's like playing in your first band or something. It was I got to work with guys who I respect the hell out of. Every actor on the stage, and even the guys who wrote shit and but you know, it really is. It was this great playground to learn on, and I don't know that there was a conscious thing. It was the madness of the show, and the madness of the show allowed you to do things that you would go, you know, you felt like you were talking to mom and dad, going, is that cool? Can I, you know, how much can I believe that a kidney's coming out of my body when we're doing Pin? And Will and Chris would be like, all the way, like the most a kidney could come out. And so then you felt like, oh, fucking great, man. You know, really give it all you got. So that was you guys.
Did we ever? Your nickname, Endless Mike. Did we ever talk about?
I think it was that. It was sort of the tenure in high school was the Endless, right?
Oh,
what was it?
I don't really know the story. I always thought your hatred for Pete was endless.
It could be that too.
But I don't know. I don't remember. I think your idea better. Because I think for you, based on your how well you did in high school, it was endless for you, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it was endless for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
many years in 10th grade, if I recall.
I drew from my own experiences, Will. I did.
I love the exquisite, you know, one thing that differentiates you from other bullies is a sort of exquisite sense of joy, I think, in what he's doing. Well, moving on down, I'd love to talk to Mom and Dad a little bit.
Hey!
Oh, there she blows.
I got that Dunlap disease. My belly done lapping over my belt. I'll tell you. Okay.
You guys are such archetypal parents in this show.
Right.
I wonder, like, what did you draw upon to kind of create these parents?
Well, it was interesting because I drew it on my own father, who was ex-military, and he was kind of a rough guy, but in reality, he was the biggest softie in the world. I mean, he'd go, "Hey, stop that! No. All right, go ahead. Just don't tell your mother," you know. And I really kind of based Don on that, and then I found out later that Will's father was ex-military, and that was the kind of the basis of what he had written Don to be. And it's funny, to this day, I still do the bowling exercises, you know. And it was, for me, the character was just so much fun. I think I've never worked on a show that I always anticipated the script. I could not wait to get the script because it was always exciting to me because I loved where these guys took the direction of this because it was a warm show and yet it was incredibly funny and and I had a great time. I was actually then telling them a story that one time I was standing next to craft services and I had a plate of food and I hear over the walkie, you know, where's the 20 on Hardy? And I hear back over the walkie, well, he's probably by craft services. Check there. And I'm going, I am not always by craft services, you know. And I took my plate to my trailer. I mean, but I mean, the show to me, like working with Judy, we had great times. And I mean, starting off with the minute episodes, I remember the cheese log one. The burning cheese log from my boss, you know, and I'm like, you know, you know. And I think what they were saying, what Rick said, you could be creative on the show. They literally would just say, you know, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. And we had a great time, you know.
Before Joyce Wrigley, there was the Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family, June Cleaver. There were all these, you know, TV moms. And what was so much fun about what Will and Chris wrote was that Joyce Wrigley was a little weird. I mean, you know.
Hey, she did it, man! Number one sound from the one town. Look at that.
Wow.
Oh, look at
So
that.
you were typecast.
You know what's funny though? I've had people approach me over the years and just tell them truly, and I want to thank you all for just being so supportive of the show because it has amazed me how it's touched so many people. And I've had actually, I'll never forget a girl coming, oh, I love Don Wrigley. I wished he was my father. I went, you don't want Don Wrigley to be your father. You know? But I mean, it always has warmed my heart that all of you have loved the show so much. I just want you to know how much it means to me. And I thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you. Yes.
Well, you know, just going back to the funny, sad, strange, and beautiful, you know, we were always looking for stories to do with all the characters, and we figured, oh, we got to do a mom story. You know, it's been a little while, we got to do something with mom. And so this is probably a pretty good example of why the show didn't do that well in the ratings, and people at Nickelodeon had a problem with it. So we came up with this idea, let's have mom basically be pining for a guy that she was in high school with, and that she's still in love with him, and he's never come down from the telephone line. And, you know, it's a kid's show, but you have a mother who's pining for a guy while her husband is kind of watching all this stuff going on. And the folks at Nickelodeon were just like, what are you talking about?
I remember the defense of that show was like, they looked at us cross-eyed and we said, it's kind of an homage to Wichita Lineman. Oh, well then by all means you should do it, you know.
And then we would say, all right, so we won't do that one. We'll just do another Artie episode. And they'll go, no, do the mom one. Do the mom one. Just not too much Artie. He freaks me out. That's what we heard from the executives pretty often.
Well, it reminds me of, you know, we should talk a little bit about the 3 seasons and how they all went. You know, the first season was kind of a gimme because we only did 8 episodes and we teamed those up with the 5 specials. And then the second season, we really went full out and made the weirdest and I would say maybe the best shows that we ever did. And then in between the second and the third season, we had a lot of talks, I remember, with executives. And what they really wanted from us was to tell stories that were a little bit more relatable. And I think maybe our greatest achievement was fooling them into thinking that we would do that. while making shows like Pinned and all the great third season episodes. So that was there was that pressure at the end, and I think we saw. You know what it was? I was watching Danny grow up between the second and the third season, and I said to myself, "That kid's not going to be cute for much longer." Let's go for it. Let's go for it. One more season. Maybe we can squeeze. That was you didn't see that one coming, did you?
I know I didn't. You still have it in for me because I kicked you in the shins with steel toe boot on.
Yeah, I will never forget that. That was like one of our memorable moments from the early days. But I think you're much cuter now.
Well, one of the
Thanks,
things
Will.
one of the things that really helped the show stay on the air for as long as it did was all the press that we got out of all these incredible guest star cameos that we would have. And we have a clip reel we could show that shows some of our favorite guest stars from over the years. I don't know what number it is, but
I will find it.
Please turn to page.
Oh, they got it. And maybe the secondary character.
What can I get you, son? How about a sludge sickle? You seem like a bona fide sludge sickle man.
You don't have any Blue Tornado bars, do you?
Nope. No, I don't. You'll have to talk to Mr. Tasty if it's a Blue Tornado you're after.
Do you know where I can find him?
Nope. Heard he got run out of town by a bunch of nosy kids. Well, how about that sludge sickle? Like I said, you look like a bona fide sludge sickle man.
They're playing Central Park. And you're down in a shouting at the gate. Oh, yeah. Tell you everything. Or did he mention the magic day? When I figured it out from a fig tree.
Bring it on. Oh, I'll shred you like wheat.
Do you have a bomb shelter?
No. What?
Don't worry about it.
They keep calling and saying I'm a low hole.
I'm afraid I used the power of the ball for evil instead of good.
Issue 1, Dad's bowling ball. Who deserves the celebrated sphere?
Hello, my little friend. Let's hit again.
Louis Amatutu. Don Ho will not emerge from the Valley of Darkness.
N-O spell. How soon can you start?
Hey, stop! No more phones?
Don't eat the meatloaf.
Is that hot lather I smell?
Leonard said my eyes were bluer than the bluest blue tornado bar.
Well, not exactly.
Heart times soul equals rock and roll.
Oh, sorry. Man, my brain was flipping like a pancake.
I'm sorry, Gumdrop, but I'd have to be an idiot to let you go trick-or-treating. Love hurts. You missed a spot. Stooge.
Well, there was the very talented Sid Straw in that reel.
Hey!
So, what was your how did you get involved in the show, Sid? What were your memories of this?
I was in it for the money. I'm all business, and I think you know that Fingerwood's pretty good with numbers. And, well, no, the beautiful thing is, now this is as it was told to me, Will, Chris, back me up. Side me up, Catherine. They said, gosh, we'd like the math teacher to be a Sid Straw type. And Catherine, my dear pal Catherine, said, hey, Sid's my friend, she's a good actress, let's get Sid, she's a real Sid Straw type. She's very derivative of Sid Straw. Based her whole deal on Sid Straw. Let's get her. She can be had for half a bag of peanuts. And I mean had.
did was like our first celebrity cameo. Really, she and Richard Edson were in the first special we ever did, which was the Valentine's Day Massacre. And that started it because what it really was, I mean, how all those cameos started was just downtown people. Like I knew Steve Buscemi, I knew the different people from downtown New York. And so they, performers, like Toby, you know, I mean, people were just downtown and doing stuff. And so they came on, and then that kind of, and then we got Stipe to do it, because I'd done some REM videos, and Stipe, that sort of took it up a notch, because then people were like, oh, Michael Stipe did the show, well, if he did it, you know. So then we started getting more, and it kind of snowballed, right? We got more and more kind of interesting.
But why did Iggy Pop do it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, how did that happen?
That happened.
I don't know.
I think it was a similar thing to, like the Sid Straw story. It'd be great if he was like an Iggy Pop kind of guy. And then we just said, well, maybe we can just get Iggy Pop. And then, I don't know, somebody at Nickelodeon made a phone call, and then they said, you got Iggy Pop. So he would, it was shockingly casual, you know. Iggy would, a car would pick him up, and he'd pick him up on the Lower East Side, and he'd drive out to New Jersey, and he'd be there, and he would show up, and like, there's Iggy getting out of a car. And I was like, I cannot believe, like, there he is. And it was just, it was pretty stunning, but he was just Iggy. And then the first day we shoot with him, and I think he shot a scene or so, and that was probably all we had. And then we hear over the walkie-talkie during lunchtime, Iggy would like to stick around if you want to put him in any more scenes. Yeah, sure.
Everybody always asks me what was it like to work with people like Iggy Pop, and I'm sad to say, in the case of Iggy Pop, I recall being by the camera, watching him do a take, and I don't know if it was you, probably was you, said to me, that was a little big. Somebody should talk to him, maybe tone it down a little bit. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. You want to do it? I don't want to do it. Let's just see if he works it out on his own.
I remember working on that Iggy Pop episode, and Iggy has that line where he comes up and he goes, that Artie guy is really weird. And I'm looking at Iggy Pop going, this is so weird, looking at Iggy Pop telling me that someone is weird.
Yeah, he's Iggy Pop, and we all know the history of them, and here he is on the set with kids, and, I'd be, we're about to shoot something, and I'd go to a PA. So where's Danny? We're about to, shoot with him. He's like, I think he's in the trailer with Iggy. And I said, oh, who else is in there? And the PA said, nobody, just Danny and Iggy. And I'm like, okay, what about that sentence sounds right? Okay, somebody get in that trailer with an 8-year-old boy and Iggy Pop, please.
I was 12 and nothing happened.
Well, maybe some other things happened that were pretty cool. You got along with Iggy really well.
Yeah, we used to have lunch together. It was great. Mike and my amplifier, yeah. Uh-huh.
We blew an amp with Iggy Pop.
Also, when I first met Iggy Pop, he stepped out with his girlfriend or his wife, I'm not sure what. And
neither did Iggy, actually.
No. And she walked out, and she sort of looked to me. She looked like Yoko Ono, so I looked at her, and I was like, "Oh, cool, going the John Lennon route." He just looked at me, and he was like, "Yeah, kid, that's right." I just kept going.
Did that have some influence on you becoming a musician now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's his fault. It's his fault. It's Catherine's fault. It's Sid's fault. And Iggy's fault too. Yeah, I was just around it so much, and it was really cool that he treated me like an adult, or an adolescent at least. He's like, all right, I'll teach you how to play TVI. And once you get taught by Iggy Pop, if you don't continue to play music, he comes and kills you. And I want to live to at least 65, collect my SAG pension.
Well, this brings up an interesting other topic of conversation, which is you can't talk about Pete and Pete without talking about how incredible the music is, right? And maybe you guys could speak. I mean, there's like Magnetic Fields and Mrs. Jackson, and Could you guys speak a little bit the same way, like how you got all those cameos? How did you get all that incredible music for the show? And
Well, it was kind of like frontier time at Nickelodeon. Our show was so low budget, and nobody was looking to. You could get into. I think originally, I mean, the story goes we were all full of ourselves, having our own show, and we thought, maybe we could get a Pixies song. I remember that day, and we were made a few phone calls, and we're eagerly anticipating. Our show's cool. We've got money. I remember we had hummus on set. That had to cost something, and they're like, yeah, that's going to cost $80,000. And we're like, how about magnetic fields? And now the truth of the story is we found there's so many great bands, and everyone kind of raises an eyebrow about you can't put magnetic fields into a kid's show, but why not? I mean, the songs are beautiful and wonderful and weird and great. And we just put in the songs that we liked, and I'd like to think that the show influenced some of your musical tastes, and word needs to be said about Polaris. I was and Chris and I were both fans of Miracle Legion, and in fact, if you've ever heard the song "The Backyard," which is a great Miracle Legion song, it really kind of, in a way, got us to Pete and Pete. It's a very evocative song about the backyard and growing up. And it really made us get in the mood to write this show. And so when we had a chance to get Mark on board and he invented Polaris, it really felt like it all made sense. And I think what's great about Polaris, and I guess what's great about Pete and Pete in general, is there's a lot of mystery to those songs. I've heard those Polaris songs a million times, and I still don't know what they mean. And there's the famous second verse from Hey Sandy where, nobody seems to know what Mark is saying. And maybe you guys could find out tonight, pester him about it. But there's a lot of dissection of Polaris songs on the internet, and I remember reading somebody talking about how Waiting for October was a song about the end of the world. And I thought, that is so pretentious. It's obviously a song about waiting for October, I think. I hope it is, because I love October and I like this song a lot. And I said to Mark, this song's about October, right? Because it's a great season and you like October. And he goes, Willie, it's about the end of the world, man. So that's what's great about Pete and Pete, even after all these years, all the mystery we invested in the show to try to put it back in everyone's lives. It's still, in many ways, just as mysterious to us after all these years.
But I think, one thing you mentioned earlier is important that, we had never, it was just music that interested us, and we had never written scripts before for a half-hour show. We never made a half-hour show before. We never produced anything like that. Catherine never directed anything like it. Most of these guys had never been in anything like it before. And so what do you do in that situation? You can try to do what everybody else is doing, or you can try to do stuff that completely interests you. And that's what we did. And, we were very fortunate because the people at Nickelodeon really let us do it early on. And they gave us a lot. We joke about the restrictions that we had, but the fact is they gave us a lot of leeway to do stuff and bring some of this really wonderfully sad, strange, beautiful indie music into the show, and actors like all these, and the people that you see on there. Nickelodeon didn't know who a lot of those folks were, and we didn't either. Some of us, but somebody like Catherine knew Steve Buscemi before he was Steve Buscemi. And, we just did things that interested us, which is why we got Toby, when Will found him, and we saw Damien in a Hal Hartley movie, and just, when you come from a place of trying to please yourself and make something that's meaningful and funny, and you don't really worry about what the rules are, and just try to ignore the fact that there are some rules, I think when we did that, and I think we did that overall for the series, but episode to episode, the best episodes are the ones that we really did just do stuff that really pleased us, and did not really worry about what the ratings were saying, because that hurt whenever we looked at the ratings.
I think what's kind of amazing about it now, when we're all sitting up here, is we shared so much of a sensibility, but it came together almost by accident. Who would know that the kids that we cast, would turn out to be people we would want to talk to that many years later, having it fondness for. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the people that you guys are, not just the kid, just not the kid actors you were, but it was the actual personalities that you were that came through, which is why we cast you, but we couldn't have said, oh, it's because there's this quality, this, you know what I'm saying? It's there's a set of kind of shared affinities and qualities that has really endured between all of us that is absolutely in the show, that attracted the people who came to the show, and it's sort of this just kind of amazing thing. It just, the little connections is what made that show what it was, between all the people who worked on it. and the music and the look of it, the people who shot it, all the crew.
Well, speaking of the
everybody.
sensibility, I think we should all give real props to Catherine Diekman for creating a lot of the look of the show, and being involved in the casting.
For Oliver, Chris and Will and me, when we start, we were, like Chris said, totally naive. Like, we just didn't know what we were doing. And that naivete was really a benefit in terms of how we started the show, I think.
I was just
I'm
thinking,
still naive. And a virgin.
Catherine, we used to joke, sorry. We were so naive, I remember we didn't even know.
Behave, Sid Straw.
Hey,
Behave.
look at that, something's happening over there.
Keep talking, Will.
Pardon me.
What I'm going to say is so boring compared to what's going on here. What did Catherine used to call sandbags? Remember we used to joke about-
Weight sacks.
Weight sacks. Yeah, on the set you have sandbags that hold things down. Catherine would say, could someone move that weight sack?
I only said it once, Will.
It's part of the lore. It's part of the lore. It's part of the lore.
Old weight sack Diekman.
Oh, weight sack Diekman. No, but
weight
it
sack.
was really fun because we were so unsupervised. I think it's really interesting. Like, several people here tonight have used the word playground, and it really was a playground because no one was really paying attention that much to what we were doing, and we didn't really know a lot of the time what we were doing, and it was just kind of what, and the actors saying, like, they could do whatever they wanted within reason. So everybody was just kind of very free to figure things out.
But I think it was like a leaky faucet over at Nickelodeon that finally somebody went, is that fucking thing still on? Oh, hell. And they just turned it off. Oh, we forgot all about that. It's still leaking. Good. Let's get rid of it.
I remember, your show's in trouble when it's on, at some point it's on, it's like 7:30, and then you're looking for it, and it's on at 2:30 in the afternoon. That's always never a good sign.
Ominous.
But we knew we were making something that really interested us and made us laugh. And then, just in doing that, they were very successful within the network because there were certain people in the network that shared that sensibility. And then we started to realize there was a certain audience for the show that was really responding to it because the kids who responded to the show, well, I mean, there they are. They're the kids that responded to the show. I have a feeling you folks were probably a little bit different than the other kids that you were growing up with. Maybe just a little bit, And thank God for that. And the show spoke to you in some way that we don't completely understand. But we knew that there was an audience out there that was not being delivered to, and we were very excited to deliver to it. So it was very challenging at times, not to get swayed by the network to try to make things too mainstream to appeal to even more people when we knew that we had a certain audience that would probably really like certain things about the show. And that kind of reminds me of. Just tell the anecdote about the focus group, yeah.
Yeah, the story goes, we had a focus group for Pete and Pete back when we were first getting started. And if you've ever been in a focus group, you and Chris and I were behind some one-way glass, nervously eating M&Ms and watching kids watch the show. And I remember we watched the kids file into the room, and they all looked like kids who were going to hate it. And they did, actually. But there was I think a lot of the kids would say, you're in trouble when you're looking through the one leg of the glass and some kid says, like, that would ever happen. That's not good praise. But in any case, all these kids come in, they're watching it, they look really frustrated and unhappy, and they were very vocal about it. And there was one kid who looked like a real Pete fan, looked like any one of you guys at age 10. And he was just sitting there.
His shirt was kind of misbuttoned,
and
his hair was a little kind of off to the side, and he clearly hadn't brushed his teeth, and he was missing a sock,
I think he was a total leg jiggler as well. And we could tell that he liked the show in his own shy way, and when it came time to talk about the show, there's a moderator, and everyone has asked their opinion, and in the midst of all of the kids saying, like, that would ever happen, and it's stupid, we were just like behind the glass saying, shy kid with the mismatched socks, please speak up, say something, say anything. And he did not, he never said a thing. But we think now, we look out into this audience and we think that now that one shy kid who never spoke up speaking up now, and you're here today to speak for that kid who couldn't speak back then. Thank you, shy kid with the mismatched socks. We appreciate it.
I don't know if any of you have noticed, but Will is wearing Artie socks.
I noticed that.
See,
Very nice.
for you, for
Hey.
you.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah, it's
That's
at
pretty
Barney's. There's a
sweet.
whole Artie wear.
Oh, is it now? Good, yeah.
Have you washed them since '92?
Well, they're brand new, actually. It's just kind of a random accident, but we can talk about that later.
Well, Catherine, you mentioned in passing casting, that you were involved in that. And I feel like it's a good time. We got to kind of bring it back. People love casting.
Oh, hey. Oh, hey, everybody, it's Mr. Tasty. Hey.
Wow.
These are the Twitter questions. Tasty
Oh,
loves
my.
Twitter.
In case anybody wonders, in the show, Toby Huss was in that Mr. Tasty outfit.
You can tell.
He was the man.
There's a lot of
there's-
telltale body language. that
And there's one
ticks
amusing anecdote from when I was wearing the Tasty costume. We had to take some still photos in Washington Square Park, and it was just me and a friend of yours.
Paula Court, yeah.
Right, was
Yeah.
a photographer, and she was taking photos of me, and we go there, and there's a hot dog cart, and there's some man from Estonia or somewhere is selling hot dogs in his hot dog cart, and I have my Tasty hat on, and I'm standing about 10 feet away from him, and they're taking photos. One woman's taking photos. And out of nowhere, something slams very, very hard against that head, and I go down. It smacks me hard, and I go down, and it hurts, and I'm rolling on the ground, and I pop that hat off, and I look up, and there's this giant man from Estonia standing over me, laughing with a police baton in his hand. So apparently, he thought it would be super hilarious in Estonia. This is funny shit. They go up and see a guy wearing a costume and beat him on the head with a club. And I never got out why he did it, but when I thought about it years later, I thought, yeah, if I saw a dude with a big, I'd have to do something. Throw something at him or hit him with a club. So I'm telling you, next time you see somebody with a big helmet on, helmet hat, hit him with something. It's kind of funny. You laugh about it later.
Well, before I get to the Twitter questions, I feel like we haven't talked enough with Pete and Pete yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
I thought maybe, and also Allison over here too, Alan.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys could talk about, do you guys remember being cast in the show, what it was like to be in the show? What are just some of your fondest memories and your earliest memories?
Hey, stupid, he's asking you that question too.
Let Allison talk first, and let those boys talk. Go, Allison. Because she won't otherwise. Go. Yeah.
Being casted?
Yeah.
Catherine always sticking up for Allison. Always sticking up for Allison.
Someone has to. I do remember being casted. It actually was my very first audition. It was as green as it can be. It was a big cattle call, I guess they call it, right?
Cattle call.
A cattle call. Anyway, yeah, but Catherine tells the story better. Anyway, apparently I had a Polaroid stapled to some loose leaf paper. It was really ghetto, and anyway.
No, we had just seen a slew of like tall, blonde, really vague girls who could barely say, could barely do a line reading. This is Pete, and my brother, his brother Pete, and it's like really vacant, you know. And Allie came in with like this kind of macrame handmade vest and like the Polaroid stapled to the loose. We were like, okay. You know,
That's her.
Great.
Cast
yeah,
her.
Yeah.
But I remember, I actually remember the three, Will, Chris, and Catherine being there and not knowing what I was doing at all. But I remember riding the train back to Long Island, back home. By the time we got home, there was a message on the machine from my agent that said, we don't know what you did or how you did it, but you got the part. So yeah, that was it. That was it.
And by machine, you meant phone machine. See, back in the mid-90s.
Was it awkward, or what was it like having a sort of on-screen romance while being a teenager. I can't imagine.
It was awful. It was awful. It was awful.
Was it that bad, Mike?
Can I get a chance? When we had our first kiss, it was freezing out that day, and everybody was looking at us, and it was the worst ever.
And
Well, it was in the middle of the marching band, so there were like 100 extras, and we were like, look away, just look away. It was really, I mean, Michael and I, we grew up together, so you're more brother-sister than anything, and as soon as we found out that they were gonna really do that, it was difficult. I don't know.
Why were you two making out backstage a little while ago?
Oh my goodness. She's a married woman.
You know, we actually made a little, because we felt like it was such an important element of the show, we made a little kind of montage tracking the story of Pete and Alan.
Oh.
We thought might be kind of...
How could you possibly be in love with Miss Fingerwood?
I don't know. She swam across the Mississippi on Christmas.
She's 31 years old and smells like chalk.
She doesn't act 31.
Pete, she calculates the speed of electricity for fun.
You just don't understand.
Sure I do. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What are you doing?
I'm counting to 1,000,000 for fun. 5, 6, 7.
I knew what Ellen was trying to do. But no matter how high she counted, she'd always be a girl and a friend, but not a girlfriend.
You risked your life for me.
Well, not really. Actually, the suit is completely bomb-proof. It's made from a totally revolutionary new tungsten mylar blend that makes it,
Bomb-proof. I know. Thanks anyway.
Ellen? Do you want to go out on a date with me tonight? Ellen? Hello? What did I tell you, huh? No fog, no fun. I can explain, really.
No fog, no fun? Is that all I mean to you? After all we've been through? After all these years? This is what you think of me?
Ellen! Something I said? Ellen?
You don't have to say it, Pete. I know.
It was not freezing out that day.
That made my nose sweat.
All right, so to the Twitter questions, the 3 lucky Twitter questions, the general public. It's just too big to raise hands out here. First, Alex Barbatus, or at Alex Barbatus.
Oh,
asks,
brother. He's a prick.
Oh, God.
Go ahead anyway.
How many real Petunia tattoos have fans shown you?
I've seen a few. Real ones too, mostly.
Are they always on the arm, or are they other places?
Yeah, they're always on the arm. Be weird if it was a back tattoo.
There was an episode once where you had a battleship.
Well, I had a battleship on my back. Yeah, not a lower back.
Does anybody here in the
Tramp
audience
stamp.
have a Petunia tattoo? A real one? Oh, come on, really?
For real? Is it on your forearm? Show
Wait,
it.
back in there, is that one in there?
Real one.
Wow, verification.
I think we'll all have a meetup.
Some up
Oh,
there.
there.
Wow,
You got
that's
one for real
crazy.
too? All right.
It's just like birds going off.
Be taking your numbers for Danny later.
You
Just for
backstage.
pictures.
No. Constance Bannister asks, Pete and Pete movie? Multiple question marks.
Well, I don't know if people know that Snow Day was intended.
Yeah.
It was intended to be a Pete and Pete movie, and in fact, it was written as a Pete and Pete movie, and it turned into something else with the help of Paramount. But as far as I don't know, maybe we could do a reunion where you would have kids of your own. That's a terrible idea.
Well, we did. We were the Nickelodeon movies started up years ago while we were making the show, and we pitched a Pete and Pete movie, and they said yes. So they gave us like $4 to go off and write the script, and we were really excited because it was the first movie.
They gave us free paper.
That's true. And we were really excited because it was the first movie that Nickelodeon movies ever paid for, and we're really excited. We go out and we write this amazing snow day adventure. And then we're really excited, we hand it in, and then the executive basically just takes it and puts it on a shelf and leaves it there and never reads it. And then the show ends, and we're like, well, that kind of sums up the show in a lot of ways.
That is neither funny, strange, or beautiful. That's purely sad.
Exactly. Sad. And then we resuscitated it years later, but it wasn't, what it should have been. But because we didn't have these folks here.
However, Damien Young, if you've seen Snow Day, is fantastic in Snow Day.
And Iggy Pop, Principal Weaver.
Well. We do have the episode. Well, we're going to do the movie where we break into the warehouse in New Jersey and release the third season.
The legend of the third season. We were joking about this earlier. We talked about the mystery of Pete and Pete. Why are they both called Pete? Where does the tattoo come from? Is Artie the strongest man in the world or a hallucination? And added to that list is, whoa, what happened to the third season of the DVD? There's a rumor that it's in a warehouse, and we often talk about, as you were saying, raiding the warehouse. So we'll keep you posted on that.
All right.
Teddy,
Teddy,
Dave
yeah.
Martell, Teddy Forsman. He's in the house? All right. Dave Martell.
There he is.
Dave Martell.
That's it.
Dave Martell.
Excellent.
Dave
Dave Martell.
Dave Martell.
Hey, there he is.
And the last Twitter question from Axel the Cat, I guess cats are big fans too, is Chris and Will, are there any specific memories from your childhood worked into the show?
Well, I have one
good
quick,
question,
easy answer. There's a 60 seconds Pete vignette about the burp room. I don't know if anyone's seen that. The original version of that story, I guess when I was a kid, I guess my father would tell you I was a bit of a farter. And in a moment of just like...
Well, how can you be a bit of a farter? What are you in the middle?
I think I'm watering it down. I think he basically said, you're quite a farter. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
So back in what was I now see as just like a Hall of Fame sequence of incredible sarcasm, my father got a napkin and he began to draw a schematic design for the fart room he would design for me to live in. And the sarcasm was so brilliant because he drew the design with incredible detail. It took about 20 minutes to finish it, and he just shoved it at me, and he said, "That will be your new home." And that turned into the burp room, which was about little Pete and his burping problem. So that's one example. What about you, Chris? Anything you strip mine from your childhood?
I mean, a lot of little things here and there. Like, I had at the end of our street, there was a fort, and, all my friends, we would sleep in the fort at night, and while everybody on the street is sleeping at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd leave the fort, and we'd just walk around the streets, and it was just something so amazing being 8 or 9 or 10 years old and just walking the streets in the middle of the night, and you just feel like you're the only people on earth. And I just remember that feeling, and that was certainly the impetus for doing the Nightcrawlers episode when little Pete and Artie and all the gang stay up all night. So it was more, just capturing those moments and things like Halloween. I mean, we all experienced Halloween, and just always feeling at that era, at that time of your life where you really want to be liking Halloween, but you're kind of a little bit too old for it, and just playing with that awkward time in your life when you want to wear a costume, but you really feel like smashing a pumpkin and just feeling awful about that.
I realize there's a part 2 to my farting story, I have to say. Sadly.
Of 5.
Well, I was just thinking that I think that one of the reasons we made Pete and Pete, at least from my side of it, was I had a brother who was 5 years younger than me, and we were not, let's just say we were not best friends. And the fantasy of Pete and Pete was, what if your best friend was your little brother? I think that's something we don't talk about that much, but you guys, I know you guys are pals now, and you were pals back in the day. And it's a beautiful thing to even consider for a second. But I remember when I was maybe 15 and my brother was 10, I felt really ashamed about my farting, and I bought him a U2 record. So that's the end of my story.
That's good.
Sad
that's
and
good.
strange, and a little beautiful.
Tell the story about shitting your pants. That's funny stuff.
Call it a shark.
Had to hold back on something.
You know, Michael, you had a pretty interesting theory last time about Pete and Pete as various avatars for these two guys.
What Chris said made it totally come true, because he totally wrote for Danny, I think, in a way that I don't know which one of you guys is younger, or if that even makes a difference, if one of you is the older brother or younger brother, but Danny definitely came through in Chris's writing, and I feel like Will was trying to guide me, and that Catherine was the only person that could make Ellen's episodes happen the way that they did.
Do you feel, Mike, like you were shaped at all by the character that you played? Because I know you rebelled against him at the end of the third season. I don't know why don't you tell the story of how you rebelled at the end, and what was behind that? Because in a way I thought that I guess the question is, how did Big Pete inform your life? That is my question.
I had to have big hair, and Catherine had given me some Tank Girl comics, one of these summers, and we got wrapped up with the season, and I just cut my hair all messed up, and then we were going to end the show, and the show was definitely canceled. We were not making any more shows, so you worked it into the last episode that.
If you watch Saturday, you see Mike get his head shaved, and he got his head shaved for real, and he walked off the show and became an East Village fixture. At least that's how I remember it. But I'm just asking, but was the Big Pete part, the part where you were this wide-eyed, deadpan, kind of do-good-Nick, was that you at all?
I guess I'm more sarcastic than him, but I don't know. I try not to blink. That's really the characteristic that we have in common.
One unifying.
Is trying not to blink. That's what we both do best.
Doing it right. And my last question on the matter of the Pete's is, why is Danny such a badass, and how did that happen? Like this child, tattooed, wild, insulting criminal.
Drink him in.
This is what happens 20 years later.
Oh my. Oh my.
You guys?
I don't know.
The first day, you guys buried him in a hole. The very first day of the show.
He was just written that way, you know, and then Danny came into audition, and it was like he was the kid who could nail that part. But it was in the writing. When Will wrote all the stuff originally, and then Chris started writing, but it was that character in the first 60-second spot I read was crystal clear. You knew he was going to wear the hunting cap. You knew he was going to wear the flannel shirt with the arms that were too long, you know, and you wrote all his insults. And then Danny came in to audition, and he could just kind of do anything. I mean, you could direct him any which way to do any emotion, and he could just do it, and he'd do it, and then you'd say cut, and he'd go like throw a frisbee and be a kid. You know, I mean, he just had this amazing ability to just do it but not be fussy about it, and just kind of like, you know. And so it was the perfect fusion of that writing of the character, which was Will's writing, really, originally. And then Chris kind of took the Little Pete character and wrote a lot of great, longer episodes that really got, you know, did more with Little Pete. But Danny came in and that was it, right? I mean, that was just it. It was like there was the writing, there was the kid, and then that happened.
I think Danny
Tell that story.
What
too.
story?
The burying him in the hole?
When you realized that he was the right guy in the hole?
The hole.
The
You
hole.
The whole story.
Oh, yeah, for the first time we shot.
Oh, the whole
The whole.
story.
Come on, tell the whole story.
Basically, we're shooting in, I don't know where we're shooting. It was the very first 60-second short film. And, you know, we've got this, how old were you? 7? 8?
7.
7. So we've got Danny, and it's a blistering hot day, and at the end of the 60-second short film, Danny, Little Pete, is supposed to be buried in a hole up to his neck with the, you know, turtleneck on, and he's got some funny line where he eats a bug and spits it out. And all I could think about all day was this hole, all right? We're going to take this kid and stick him in a hole. in the backyard of this neighborhood, and throughout the day, some guy's digging a hole. He's digging a hole. So it comes time to shoot, and you know, Danny's parents are there, and I was like, okay, time to put the kid in the hole. So we put the kid in the hole, and I'm just nervous. I'm like, guys, the kid's in a hole, and I bury him up to his neck. And I'm like, Catherine, come on, let's start shooting. And plane goes overhead, so we have to stop shooting. We're waiting and waiting. Then a cloud goes overhead, and we're waiting, and the kid's in the hole. And you know, and then we got to change the mag on the camera, and he's still in the hole. And all I keep thinking is, get that goddamn kid out of the hole. He's in a hole. So then finally we shoot it, and you know, what was the line? It was like,
where's my money?
Where's my money?
Where's my money?
So it's like, and action, where's my money? And then Catherine would say, again, where's my money? Faster, where's my money? Angrier, where's my money? Slower, where's my money? Sing-songy, where's my money? Goes on, and I'm thinking, get the kid out of the hole. So we finally get cut, and we pull the kid out of the hole, and he says, that was awesome. And I turned to Will and I said, we can do anything we want with this kid.
Well, we got a Polaris concert to get to. So why don't you give these guys a huge round of applause? I think so.
Thank you, everybody.
This is like,
wouldn't be here without you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And